The latest death toll from the powerful earthquake that hit Japan is at 48, but is still rising. This as rescuers face a race against time to find more survivors. Joining me right now is an earthquake expert, Dr. David Whitehouse. Good morning to you, David.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Wish it was under happier circumstances. I don't imagine there are many happy circumstances to talk about earthquakes, though, except for the fact that one of the things that struck me looking at the death toll, we know it will rise, but when you look at countries like in Haiti, their earthquake in 2010, 200,000 plus people died. In Japan, we are only just in double figures. One of the key things here is that this was a very high magnitude earthquake, wasn't it? 7.6. But Japan's buildings, its infrastructure is built to withstand these sorts of earthquakes. So thankfully, so far, we have not seen the sort of horrific death toll many might have feared.
You're quite right. I remember we spoke about the Turkish earthquake some time ago. And although Turkey is an advanced country, its building regulations are rather poor. Even though it has regulations to withstand earthquakes, they weren't followed. Japan is a different case from this because Japan strictly follows its regulations. It is the most earthquake-prone country in the world, and it knows about how to cope. So what we saw with this earthquake, which was a serious earthquake, it was a shallow earthquake in the west coast, and shallow earthquakes can sometimes be more dangerous than deeper earthquakes because more of the energy gets to the surface and shakes the surface and shakes the seawater as well. But the buildings which have collapsed have not been major buildings, new buildings, or recent buildings. They've been older buildings, they've been residential buildings which are perhaps not in the greatest of repair, and the wooden buildings which are seen so often by tourists and are a tourist attraction in this region. Yeah. So although it's regrettable that the death is now into double figures and will inevitably rise as people get to the damaged zones and people are pulled or not from rubble, it's a lot less than you would have had in as you said, in a different country that wasn't as well prepared.
Indeed. I mean, obviously there are massive fears about the tsunami, again, which didn't come to realisation. Those major warnings, people literally being told, the TV screens basically saying, run, get away from the coast. 2011, of course, 20,000 people died, and we saw that damage to the Fukushima nuclear plant as well. And I mean, major devastating impact. I mean, some of those videos are still extraordinary to watch from that time. In terms of why we didn't see a huge, big tsunami this time. Is this due to where the earthquake took place, how shallow it was? What are the factors that will basically turn one earthquake into one that will kill dozens and another that will kill hundreds of thousands?
Well, earthquakes, they have a common cause. They are slippage, they are build-up of tension due to friction below in the earth, this time caused by the Pacific floor plate pressing against Japan and moving underneath it. And the friction, build-up of tension, release of energy. So that's the cause of an earthquake. But the conditions in which an earthquake occurs can be so dependent upon the area. They're so variable, they're so different, depending on where they occur, that energy can quickly get to the surface. A lot of energy can get to the surface, cause a lot of shaking, or it can be dissipated down, or it can move along the fault. So each earthquake has an individual identity. But of course, Japan is the most earthquake, as we said, prone country in the world, and it sees a whole range of different types of earthquakes. So they're extremely well prepared. But what makes one particular earthquake produce a great tsunami and the others not is very variable. It depends upon the conditions on the sea floor as to whether or not the slippage is up and down or lateral. It depends upon if it causes landslides or mudslides on the sea floor and underwater mountains. It depends upon so many different things to displace the water, which causes the tsunami. And this tsunami was a very small one, although it looked dramatic in some areas where it moved a few cars around. People got out of the way relatively easily. I mean, it wasn't a major problem.
It is incredible, the ability of man to sort of cope with these sort of natural disasters, isn't it?
Yes.
Dr. David Whitehouse, I really, really appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much